Much love to you and yours. This is Siren Buddha Medicine. They tell us that between the ages from 1 to 5 are the most important times for children because it sets a precedent. You know, from 1 to 5, from 1 to 7, like your entire childhood sets the basis, the foundation for how we look at the rest of the world for most of our life, unless we revise it. There's been a lot of revising. Violence is not just physical, right? For those of us who've had a violent childhood or witnessed violence in our childhood, it was transcendent. We learned to keep ourselves safe. We learned that other people are not safe. We had our ways of dealing with our environment depending on what the situation called for. For some of us, it was sexual abuse. For some of us, it was verbal abuse. For others, it was neglect, abandonment. Violence is not just physical. We always harp on violence being physical, but violence is also verbal and emotional. And it's economic. Or violence can be economic as it pertains to withholding resources. Now, one of the things that I looked at when I was studying, when I'm researching neurolinguistic programming, I came across this information about how when people are in their childhood and they're witnessing violence or they're around a lot of malicious behavior, they learn to listen differently. We adapt. And those children can develop like these little indentations in the ears because we listen differently. Isn't that amazing how a life experience can actually make an indentation on your face? And isn't it also interesting, not that this is really a part of the conversation, but indirectly it is, how the energies from the astral are defined on our face. In this book called The Dance of the Zodiac, you can see how the different breakdowns of lights from different astrological signs are present in our actual facial features and things like that. So I just thought that all this was interesting. But I said all that to actually get to this point. Since I was a child, I've had visions and dreams. I could hear voices. I've been different. My first poem was around 7 years old. Every time I turn around, I see devils come out the ground. And I still remember seeing these transcendent ghost-like figures actually coming up from the concrete. It was amazing to me at 7 years old. I had no idea that I would have to live with things that nobody else was seeing or feeling for the rest of my life. And I ran. Oh my gosh, I ran. Forrest, run, Forrest, run. But everywhere you go, you take yourself. Wherever you go, there you are. And so I had to face myself and face who I was. And also deal with the fact that other people were not having the same experience. When all I wanted to do was fit in like a Lego. Just wanted to find my place so I could find my groove, so I can live this life. Like I said all that to say, I was searching for myself, searching for answers all these years. And each rotation of unlayering, like unlearning certain things, deprogramming certain things, so I could allow myself to learn other things. With each step, that I took and the momentum, I learned more. Of course, we learn more, right? So over the years, especially since I hit about 30 years old, I started to get into more of the esoteric things, a lot of the hidden knowledge and stuff. And prior to that, I really did trust in our system. I trusted in the mental health system and their little pills and the therapy, the self-help programs and things that, I purchased so many things trying to help myself to get out of the space that I was in because I just didn't get it. And all this is leading somewhere. So, as I started listening to my inner voice and this voice that was inside of me that I was trying to run from, I started to listen to it and started to be able to decipher between a good voice and a bad voice, between something that was counterproductive and demonic from something that was loving, healing, nurturing, and that was like the voice of wisdom, right? So as I started circling around this information, it's like a spiral. Circle around it once, as I spiraled out of the regular system into the hidden knowledge and more of the secret stuff. And it's like I spiraled and I got some information, and then a year or so later, I would circle around the same information. It would come full circle. And then another couple of years later, I was circling around. And each time, I would be getting rid of layers of programming and indoctrination and loving myself more, accepting myself more as a starseed, as a person that was just different. I had to accept that I interacted and interfaced with the world differently, and that was okay. It did not mean that I had to indoctrinate myself to the things that other people were calling me because they didn't understand, like crazy, insane, mad, confused. I didn't have to take on someone else's perception of me. I needed my perception of me to be okay, to live with me. So as I started circling around this information, and the more I grasped hold of that, to the voice, to my ancestors, to myself, to the acceptance, holding on to my spirituality, allowing myself to redefine the God of my ancestors as it was perceived to me as a child, which was very important. I remember going to a self-help group and them telling me, this was like maybe 18 years old, and I finally heard them say, you can choose your own higher power. And I was like, what? Nobody ever told me that I could choose my own higher power. It's like I realized the programming years later. Like sometimes you just need to give people permission. We just need to give each other permission to break the programming. So anyway, cycling around this information, I've learned to gather more and more and put certain pieces together. I'm a hermit. I'm a recluse. I'm not around a lot of people. And certainly there's nobody in my life that I can talk to about the kind of information and stuff that I share with you. I mean, I do share with my daughters. They're very young. As you know, with this information, you can only glean so much. You can only understand so much. You have to be ready for the more. You have to be ready. That's why there's all these different cycles, okay? Until you spin into this higher frequency where you have evolved yourself because you've worked on yourself and you've done a lot of allowing and disallowing and boundaries and things like that. Now, in my studies and research while I was doing all this, right, discovering myself, it's been quite a few years now. I've done a lot of growing, changing, healing, readjusting, and I can tell you that what do I want to tell you? Don't worry about being perfect. Just be concerned about being honest with yourself. With yourself, your God self, your higher self. With yourself, your lower self, about your lower self. And with yourself that's gleaming the reality about self. And seeing yourself in others and realizing how we're all connected, right? And you just see yourself in everything, but also you have boundaries for that part of yourself that you no longer want, right? So you don't see things until you're ready to see them. I don't care how many times you rotate around them. And the information that I've been showing you regarding the Dogon and the dance and the symbolism and the academic community and the rejection are things that I can empathize with. They're things that I can actually relate to from my own experience or that are connected to me somehow. And they're also, as star seeds, as the awakening is happening, for those of us in America that are realizing that we're indigenous, that we're more, not less. We're investigating our history and finding the truth. And this is more prevalent when you are in the awakening and you're looking at alternative information. When you're looking, even when I was outside of the, even when I was in the regular mainstream information and you're looking for the truth, you quickly, as a truth teller, start to see the way the system breaks down and you start to see the lies in it and discrepancies, and it can be heartbreaking, it can be frightening, jarring even. And as I moved into more of the non-general information, stuff people were more likely not to know, is where I started to get more of my answers and things got really surreal, okay? So I share my journey with you because it's mandated spiritually for me to do what I'm doing. That's my job. That's my mission. And if you're wondering why I'm talking like this, there's like things that I'm not saying and things that I am saying, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm picking the correct things to say because I don't want to go down a giant rabbit hole where there's no cohesiveness to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I am bringing together the cohesiveness of why I'm talking to you as the starseeds, as the people that are awakening, as truth tellers, as people who are developing their spiritual awareness during this time. So we have our not so well known ancient planetary history of the Draco, and the Uru. And that's where the information comes into play for me personally about the Rh negative, Rh positive blood types, and how Rh negative is more telekinetic. Rh negative is more telekinetic and less emotional, whereas the Rh positive is more emotional but has the rhesus monkey factor. Not emotional, they're more empathic. That's more emotional. So what I was trying to figure out is, okay, so what about me? Why am I also empathic and telekinetic, but I'm Rh negative? And so, yeah, just, looking at certain things and trying to figure out little things for yourself led me to looking at the ancient history and the dreams and visions that I was given to help me on my journey, and wondering why was I given these dreams and visions and things to help me on my journey, which actually weren't helping until I accepted them and stopped rejecting myself. And before that, it was freaking nightmare, and I literally went mad. I was in a actual insane asylum. But that's actually a testament towards my truth. I'm getting at that. So, this is a book that helped me very much. There's materials that I was able to get my hands on, but not until I was able to cycle through and find them during my evolution. Okay? And in this book, I find the answer. I find part of the answer, or I find something that is not magically, I find something that is definitely explaining what I'm going through and linking me to my ancient past. A piece of the puzzle that shows me that it's not just me, that this happens to others too, and where it came from, and that it's a real thing. And I'm going to share that information with you shortly. So those voices, after they were more refined, I learned to accept them as my guides. They're actually my guides, my ancestors, and the Most High. Like, there's different things. There's different beings speaking to me. So I have guides and ancestors and different things speaking to me, and I had to learn how to sort that out and to balance my energy in that, okay? Dan Winter speaks about fire in the blood, and he also speaks about spiritual hygiene. One of the things that I've learned about spiritual hygiene is that you really have to take care of yourself and balance out these different frequencies, right? There's a cleansing process. It could be very dangerous, and you can, just kind of become very unbalanced, okay? I learned to listen to my guides, and one of the things that I had to get over was I was extremely external. I can be very visual and very vain. And at one point in my life, just like I was trusting in the system and just what I knew, I was trusting in that because that's just what I knew. And it was like some aspect tries to lock me into that and hold me into that space of things just being physical. For instance, you're talking to the opposite sex, and they keep telling you how beautiful you are, how attractive you are, how sexy you are, how cute you are. Everything is exterior and based on the way that you look. And over a period of time, if you're a person that was vain like that, dependent on that, fixated on that, programmed like that, that's a hard program to break. then you'll eat that up. Oh, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, you're so sexy. But what happens when you're not that anymore? Then what are you? Right? Then you're old and you're crusty and you're lonely and you're played out and you're, what? Do you become nothing as you become older? As you lose the vitality in the arena of everything being about sex, sex, sex. Fresh, new, plump, pump, sex bomb, sex kitten, whatever, right? What happens after that? So as I started to wake up, I was really aware that I had a girlfriend. We were both it. We were just like, we knew we were just so cute. She got into a car accident, messed up her entire grill, and crushed her face. She was never the same. She was going to need surgery and all that. She was really scarred up. And it got me thinking as a young person, right? In my early 20s, around 18, early 20s, what's going to happen when that's not there? And that's when I started to actually look at more intellectual stuff. And I started to figure out what other skills and stuff was. Like, I didn't wake up to anything outside of just the way I looked at my exterior until then. I've come certainly a long way. And the way that I did that was to listen to my guides. They purposely broke me out of that. If you're wondering why, how I can come on to the internet in a headscarf with no makeup on, with imperfect teeth, without fancy clothes on, it's because that is what I needed to do to break programming. It was like this freaking demon, and it still bothers me. You know, I get more people in my inbox talking about how sexy and cute and attractive I am than that information was really going to help me in my life, right? How can I advance this? There is this like low grade frequency trying to cloud the spirituality, the higher frequencies, and the wisdom, the intellect, the researching part of me, the scholar part of me that I'm sharing with you that I was actually made to be. I'm an intellectual. And so things like that might become a part of your journey. Like, you might end up having to do something that no one else will do. No one else understands why you're doing it, but you know that you have to do it because you're working with your shadow self. You're trying to break certain things or whatever. So now it's been a balancing act. Now it's maybe I've went too far to the left towards not giving a blip so much most of the time, to where I should probably care a little bit more. But as you can see, we're still working on it, okay? So, but I believe this is what Spirit tells me. It's magnetizing me to people that can hear me and see me, and not be magnetized to the other aspects of me, the siren part of me, the physical siren part of me, not the siren part of me that's calling out and teaching and speaking and ringing the alarm, right? Shouting to the collective, not that part like siren, but the siren part of me that's alluring, tempting, provocative. You don't need to see that part. That's the part that I was fighting with. That's the part that everybody seems to enjoy about themselves so much. but I'm actually an intellectual. I'm really a head person. I'm attracted to you because you think, because your intelligence. You're really sexy to me if you're really smart. If you're really stupid, not so much. Probably not going to get along very well. But I'll be polite. I'll be kind. I don't even like those two words. I'll be just. I'll be liberal. I'll treat you how I would want to be treated if I was being a jerk and didn't know that I was stupid. I would want you to treat me with courtesy and respect anyway. You know. Anyway, I'm about to read something to you, Starseed, and hopefully this will help you out and make more sense out of what I just said to you. Much love to you and yours. This reading is an excerpt from Mama Wata, African Ancient Goddess Unveiled. And it was written by Mama Zogby. Regarding your indigenous self, regarding the gifts that the Most High instilled in you for you to unravel yourself. This is just another example of different ways that this energy can manifest in your life, and how it's manifested in the lives of others. So the material that I'm sharing with you is actually the different things, unveiling different aspects and parts of what we deal with as starseeds in reference to the system and the secrets and the resistance, and in reference to the spiritual warfare, and in reference to our own shadow selves and struggling with ourselves, and in reference to putting the pieces together. These are things that I'm sharing with you. So when I first started out, I wasn't able to find 10% of the information that I be sharing now, or that all the stuff that we see now, it just wasn't there, and the abundance that it is now, which is amazing, right? Amazing. And I literally, as I was spiraling, watched things unlock as other people were waking up, as the group consciousness started to change. And it's a beautiful thing to see. Can't wait until we see what we do next. And so when I talk to you about the Dogon, or the indigenous, or the Moors, or the academic system, I'm talking to you about my own personal journey. And at almost 57, the things that I went through personally that touched me personally, that were obstacles or helps to me. And hopefully, it'll be helpful to you. Yeah. It took me a long time to realize that. And this is what acknowledging the authority of the spiritual realm. Your birth date, your time of birth, and where you were born gives you access directly to your own spiritual gifts that the spiritual realm wanted you to have. Your personality type, your body, your vessel. It's like you get dropped off somewhere and then they throw you a care package. They just throw you this stuff out in the middle. You ever see those shows? You know, they drop somebody off in a desert or a forest, and you know, and then drop down a care package, some kind of bag or box, and inside of it is all these different things, and you just got to figure out how to make it work for you. That's kind of like what it is, you know. And yeah, so you pick up all these tools and these different things in your care package, and you just got to figure out how to work with them, right? How to build your house, how to change your vessel, how to survive. And not only how to survive, after you figure out how to survive, you have to learn how to live, because you already know how to survive. So now you can actually live, right? Anyway, I've carried on way too long. So I'm talking to you, Starseed, and I'm sharing this information with you about my personal journey so that you can know if you're going through any of the confusion, the frustration, the feeling, the crazies and stuff like that. I'm going to read something. Shortly before this video is over, I'm going to read something to you. And I hope this helps you. Okay? Beloved, I really hope it helped me tremendously. Lots of little things did. This is one of them. So, but I hope this really helps you. Mama's mysteries are maintained by the priesthoods and are not usually discussed with the general public. What is offered are general descriptions that should not be broad-brushed, but understood as part of a far-reaching divine essence. Depth and discipline scope is limited to certain levels of initiates. Mommy manifests at birth, but may not become apparent until a later age when an individual is driven to search for spiritual knowledge or undergoes an existential crisis, in which immediate intervention by mommy priestesses is required. Some people may report seeing manifestations along the water, such as mermaids or multi-headed deities, or similar aquatic or even celestial apparitions. Some may experience mommy in dreams, or rare today, mommy may simply snatch an individual walking along the seashore or even in the forest. It is generally through divination by a skilled mademoiselle or imaginess or alpha diviner that mommy is identified as either personal, prospective deity, or which initiation is required, or mommy might demand initiation as a clerk, or which a community shrine might be installed. As a rule, during ancient times, all villages maintained shrines to Mami. The virgin girls were chosen from each village to be initiated and serve in her temples. This was originally done to bring material and spiritual wealth to the village. Matrilineally inherited, the mommy deities are born from Minona, Nana, Buklaku, the great mother of mountain that rose from the celestial waters and became the earth. The mommy pantheon is arranged into specialized primary hierarchy of powerful deities, which usually heads the sub-pantheon of minor deities, known as the voodoo. The voodoo are deities, minor gods, cosmologically represented as forces of nature, and are defined as the dynamic anima of fire on earth. During the ceremonial possession by one of their devotees, initiated priestesses, mommy might manifest their divine logos wisdom on any human level of intellectual and spiritual development. They are the original source of all earthly wisdom, human creativity, genius, divine inspiration, and sacred paths leading to enlightenment. Mama's contemporary manifestation to Africans. In West Africa voodoo, the priestess of Mami, Wata, are called Manamazeli, Mamisi, or Mamas. Mama Isis, queen of the ship, or literally Mother Wisdom, which may have been derived from the Egyptian Mamuti, meaning bearer or house of the boat. Hieroglyphically, the Egyptian name Mami, which is what all senior mademoiselles in West African are called, is associated with implements of water and is depicted as a double boat stand. And I put here water bearer. It reminds me of the time is now with the Aquarius energy.